Welcome to another episode of the Kenya Defence Forces Leadership Series with me, Captain James Chumo. Our guest today is Brigadier Jacob Ondiek, the first Director of the Kenya Defence Forces Military Veteran Affairs. On 15th June 2022, the Kenya Defence Forces Military Veterans Bill of 2013 was assented to and operationalized as the Military Veterans Act of 2022. Following the enactment of the Act, the Veteran Affairs Directorate has been consolidating and implementing the spirit of the Act. To start off this conversation, could you please introduce to us the Director of the Military Veteran Affairs?
Thank you very much, Captain Jumo. The Directorate of Veteran Affairs is actually one of the newest establishments within the Kenya Defence Forces, and it is anchored in law, like you have rightfully indicated, the Act number 18 of 2022. Now, this directorate is charged with the responsibility of administering the benefits that are enshrined in the Act to the military veterans. It has been in existence for the last about 7 months precisely, since its establishment on the 27th of June 2022.
So specifically, sir, what necessitated the establishment of the Veteran Affairs within the Kenya Defence Forces?
I would say then that what necessitated was the ad hoc nature of how the welfare and the social benefits were being administered to the retired persons. We didn't have a centralized system, and therefore leaving it at the discretion of a group. Maybe, for example, the year you joined the Kenya Defence Forces would connote what intake you are for us, the general service officers, and therefore either that particular intake would come into organize themselves into a group that will be able to take care of the interests and the welfare needs of that particular intake. And therefore, this particular coming in of the Defence Forces Military Veterans Affairs Directorate would then take over the total holistic issues of veterans and have a centralized management system that will look into the welfare issues of the veterans.
Thank you very much, sir, for giving us that chronological history of the development of this directorate. And now to the primary question, who is a veteran?
One must be a Kenyan citizen. Two, one should have served in the King's African Rifles. Three, that is before 1963. Three is one that became a member of the armed forces after 63. Four is one that has served in the Kenya Defence Forces. And five is that the person must be pensionable. In other words, is receiving pension either from the King's African Rifles, from the armed forces, or the Kenya Defence Forces. Then the other point is that the person must have not been discharged dishonorably. And then lastly, now this is under subsection 2 of section 5, is that even if one is not a pensioner, then if the person left due to medical grounds, that is, he didn't complete color service, neither therefore is he qualified to earn pension, then he is eligible to become a veteran.
We've spoken about the Veterans Act. What are the main provisions of this act?
Good. It's a good question. The act actually under section 4, subsection 1, precisely, has guiding principles that informed its enactment and gives us the founding principles under which then the organization was established. One is that it takes into cognizance of the contributions made by these gallant sons and daughters of the Republic of Kenya, and their time, or the time they put in serving their motherland, the country. And therefore, the first guiding principle is the honor and the recognition of their contribution. It is very critical and important, and that is what we are considering as one of the key principles on which the Defense Forces Veterans Directorate was established. Number two is as the soldier works in active service, they are bound to suffer some injuries which may not have been fully cured during their military active service, and therefore it is a carryover to their retirement. And this particular Directorate of Military Veterans Directorate will look into restoring the well-being of the retired KDF personnel. Number three is the overall good health of these veterans, because health is a challenge, we do understand it, and therefore the Act envisages a situation that would be able to provide medical care as a benefit to the veterans. Lastly, I think we also need to have remembrance and a memorialization of those that have fallen while in their retirement period, through being there present to condole with their loved ones.
All right, thank you very much, sir. So you've spoken very well and in depth about the provisions of that Veterans Act. And now, how far has the Directorate of Military Veterans Affairs gone into implementing this act?
Within the short period that the Directorate has been in existence, first and foremost, we quickly sprang to action and did a platform, a portal rather, that is doing the registration, because we must register. We need to know how many personnel we are talking about for us to be able to give them or to administer the benefits that are provided for in the Act. And therefore, the first thing that we have done is to have an online portal that is available on the MOD website, which can be accessed by everybody out there who is a retired personnel, and do the registration. It's not all that register that get to being issued with a veteran's identity card. Why? There is the verification bit of it and some vetting to be able to appreciate that indeed this particular applicant conforms to the conditions that we stated earlier on, or that I stated earlier on. So that is one of the milestones that we have achieved. The other milestone is that we have had a continuous engagement with the veterans in the form of face-to-face undertakings, conferences, where we are sensitizing them on the need to do the application and registration. because eventually at the tail end of us being able to administer all these benefits, we need to have somebody registered, somebody issued with a veteran's ID card for him or her to be able to enjoy the benefits.
Initially, you had alluded to there being other organizations that take care of veterans' interests. Now, are they also, are this organization part of the Veteran Affairs?
They are not. Why I'm saying they are not part of the Veteran Affairs is that the Act precisely recognizes the Military Veterans Affairs Directorate as the only legal mandated body to manage the affairs of the military veterans. But I think I would expound on this point further by saying that as we consolidate the Directorate and be able to provide the benefits and administer the veterans well, we're looking at a situation that will be able to incorporate the regional chapters. I'm saying this because we already have an organization that is been in existence, and I said that the organization is the DFOCA, the Defense Forces Old Comrades Association, which has got roots and branches down to the county level. However, the DFOCA organization does not take on board everybody by the mere fact that those who are its members are contributing, and therefore somebody who left the Kenya Defense Forces and qualifies to be a veteran but is not contributing, is not making annual subscription to the VOCA, then definitely is left out. So in this regard, therefore, then I'm seeing a situation that we would be able to incorporate these the VOCA regional chapters to accommodate the military veterans, that is the retired KDF personnel, who are not members of the FOCA, so that it is bigger, it is a bigger umbrella that takes on board both the members of the FOCA and those that are non-members of the FOCA.
Thank you very much, sir. So you've mentioned about having had several engagements with the veterans. Curiously, what are some of the emerging issues with the veterans?
The emerging issues are many and diverse. Allow me to mention just a few. First is the issue of dispersion. They are widely dispersed in the entire country, and therefore reach is a key issue in terms of being able to communicate and pass information to each and every retiree. That is one. And therefore, even the engagements that we have had is a step in actually boosting the reach, because we picked on a few elected DFOCA county leaders, and I believe they are becoming our agents now in trying to pass on this information to reach every corner of the country. So the dispersion and the expansive nature of our country is one emerging issue that we would wish to address as we move on, so that probably digitization is the way to go, so that then we can be able to reach out to everybody using the available digital platforms.
All right, sir. Now, I would like you to speak to the veterans themselves right away. Why should they be excited in joining the Veterans Affairs?
The veterans listening to me out there, and even those of you who are with me in here, because at one point or another you'll become a veteran, there are good benefits. And the way I would want you to be part of these good benefits is, one, remaining committed and loyal to the KDF calling of being a servant of the country without taking sides in the political arena. Number two is that I would want that you also do not engage into activities that will steer you from being part of the esteemed members of the KDF by adhering to the norms and the ideals which are clearly spelled out in our Act. Number three is that I want to encourage, especially now those that are already left in the name of ex-members, to be active in the various chapters that are out there, and lastly, encourage them to register, because the ticket to you enjoying the benefits and the fruits that are coming once we have consolidated everything and operationalized the Directorate is the Veterans Identity Card. Without the Veterans Identity Card, then whether you put on uniform at one point or another, 5 years, 1 year, 2 years, then it's not going to give you a direct ticket to enjoying these benefits. I believe that is clear, and going through what I've said earlier on, if you comply to the conditions of one becoming a veteran, which I listed up to 8 points, and you maintain the good conduct and discipline, because once a soldier, you remain a soldier, and therefore we don't expect anything short of the ideals of good soldiery.
Thank you, sir. As we wind up, what is the future of the Veterans Affairs Directorate?
The future of the Veterans Affairs Directorate is very, very, very bright, and I would encourage that all of us maintain the good discipline, and once you exit in an honorable manner, which then would give you direct entry into the Veterans Directorate and enable you acquire the Veterans Identity Card, which I've said is the tool that would be used when you're seeking for assistance, you're seeking for administration and provision of the veterans. So the future is bright.
So the clarion call is for all veterans out there to come and register with the Directorate of Military Veterans Affairs.
By the way, Captain Chumo, they don't have to come. The clarion call would still be go to MOD website, log on to the MOD, the Veteran Affairs Registration Portal at the comfort of where you are, and register. Leave it unto us at the Veteran Affairs Directorate to do the vetting and the verification, and you will be called after a month or so to come and pick your Veteran Affairs Identity Card, which is the ticket to enjoying the benefits that I've just explained in the last bit of my talk.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir, for giving us time for this interview. Well, you've heard it for yourself. The ball has been set rolling for the Military Veterans Affairs in the implementation of the Veterans Act of 2022. Thank you very much for having joined us for this interview. My name is Captain James Chumo.